We're back with another Covrprice top 10 list. What made the list and what made speculation go wild this week? You might be able to guess. Up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics. You know what to do. I'm just going to skip. I want to get into this list. It's late at night. I got to get this recorded. I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by. I appreciate you spending some time talking comic books with me. Leave any comments down below. I really appreciate that. Let's look at the Covrprice top 10 list. Let's jump into the list. We're going to go to Geiger Annual number 1, or Geiger 80 Pages Giant number 1. This is a variant cover, the first cover appearance of Redcoat. It's also the first appearance of Redcoat, but this particular variant has his first cover appearance. Books near mint, selling for $35 to $50. And let's take a look at the graded sales. There are not many. If we look at this book graded, there are 7 on the census. They're all 9/8. And the most recent sale was over a year ago for $65. Be interesting to see if one of these came to market right now. I mean, somebody has one at $800 as an ask. Nobody's been jumping on that one. What do you think it's worth? I mean, they're actually a friend of mine who is not really a comic book guy. You know, his kids will read occasionally. He reads, like, he's read Watchmen and Dark Knight and those sorts of things, and enjoys the movies and TV shows. But he was asking about this because he's also a history buff, and he was asking about this universe, and maybe pick some stuff up. So kind of one sample size of one of crossover appeal with this character. Let's take a look at what Covrprice says. Geiger was a hit for a while back there in 2022. The fandom was curious about the new IP, and it was difficult to come by. Time passed and faded into the background. That is until now, with the release of 3 new titles from Ghost Machine, including Rook, Geiger, and Redcoat. This book is trending thanks to Ol Red, who debuted this book, appeared on the cover, and now has his own series. So, yeah, there's that to be said. So let's look at number 9 on the list. And we've seen this one before. Ultimate Black Panther number 1, the first appearance of Black Panther of Earth 6160. We see high-grade copies in the $30+ range, and 9.8s at 80. Still not over the 100 mark. And if we look at what happened here, right, we had an initial sale for $135. And then other books came onto the census, and it's driven the sale price down to about $80. That seems to be pretty consistent with the recent sales. $75 to $80. There are 285, of which 90% of them are 9/8. Here's an interesting factoid, though. Please note that it is a brand new book that's just come to market. No 9/9s. Going to move on to number 8. And this book was on the list last week. It's Supervillain Team Up number 5. This is the first appearance of the Shroud. And the book is going for over $50 now. And a recent, that was since last week. I don't see any new CGC sales. But let's take a look at what they said. The book was trending for no discernible reason. Now, light has been shed, and the why has been revealed. Marvel has been teasing the new Moon Knight's identity after Mark Spector's death, and we finally know who that is. That's right, it's the Shroud. The community proclaimed a ripoff of Batman. There were quiet rumors that the Shroud would take on the mantle, with numerous collectors scouring the aftermarket for this book in its first appearance. Now that it's been confirmed, more may seek to acquire a copy. Interestingly, I don't know if I had this in my back issue bins at King Con. It would be in the possibility of being there. Did anybody scoop that out? I'm gonna take a quick look. Let me check my records. No, I don't think so. I know I didn't sell any Supervillain Team Up. Maybe they were all sold. So I picked the series up when I was a kid. If we take a look at, graded books, I mean, not a lot. There are 123 on the census, 10 9/8. The most recent. Here we have a sale. This is interesting. In a 9/4 for $250. That was a week ago today when it first made the list. So somebody jumped all over a copy, seeing the $675 sale for 9/8. Maybe think this book is going to go wild. I think what this might do is move it just up a little bit in its key significance. It is the first appearance of the Shroud, and he's a character that's been around. This may increase his his popularity within comic book readers, but the question is, will we see any movie or TV movement from this character? Remains to be seen. Let's go to number 6 on the list, and that is Geiger 80-page giant, cover A. First appearance of Redcoat. High grade selling for, look at near mint selling for $35, and a graded book in February back for $44. Let's take a look at the write-up. So far, the 3 new characters introduced in Ghost Machine #1 have been seeing some aftermarket love, specifically Redcoat, who first appeared in this book. He's a quirky immortal and appeals to a broad collector base. That's caused collectors to seek out his first appearance in this title now that he has his series, and cover A is currently the cheaper option to acquire because he's not on the cover. We can see here, though, and it is a square bound, I believe, 11 books on the census, 10 9/8 and a 9/9. But there hasn't really been a whole lot of movement in the 9/8. $44 back in February. We'll see if the popularity of Redcoat moves that at all. Let's go to an oldie but a goodie. This is a classic book. Up next on our list at number 6, Silver Surfer #1. And this is going to be the beginning of a lot of the rest of the list, is the casting of Julia Garner as Shala Bal / Silver Surfer. Not Norrin Rad. We don't know how the story is going to play out just yet. This is a casting for the Fantastic Four film. Julia Garner, an Emmy-winning actress from Ozark. I really enjoyed her in that show. She was really great. This would be a completely different character for her. She was also in The Americans. Those are the 2 things that I've seen her in. But people have been waiting for Silver Surfer, Norrin Rad version, for years. That Fantastic Four 48 book spiked hard during the comic boom. Let's take a look at Silver Surfer. You're going to see prices all over the board, right? And recent sales within the last week, low grade for $43, $125, $341. It's actually a little bit lower than before the news. So let's take a look at a graded book, and the most common sales in a graded, we'll look at a 7.0, which is about a $1,000 book. And we can see that was where it was, $850 in 2019. And then it spiked up to $2,370 in July of 2021, kind of stayed in that $1,500 range, spiking up to $2,575 in July of 2022 during the height of the comic boom. And then it's come down. But it's still come down to pretty much post or to above pre-COVID prices. And the most recent sale, it's a pretty healthy sale of $1,232. I think we may see more of a bump when if we get a casting of somebody to portray the Norrin Rad version of the Silver Surfer as a or the Silver Surfer. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, I think the problem here is that people have been waiting for this particular character. And there's a reason that the movie studios use the IP, because these characters have brand behind them. And Silver Surfer is a good, solid character for Marvel. It'd be interesting to see how they control the narrative of that. Let us move on. And where are we on our list? 5 on the list. What if number 37 doesn't have this beast and thing continuing to mutate story? It's the backup. What if the Silver Surfer lost the power cosmic? And this is the first appearance of Shala Bal as a Herald of Galactus. Book is we see a $35 sale here. It's like a $10 to $15 book. Hard to get sales in high grade. It is a square bound from the 80s, 83. There are only 52 graded, 21 9/8. And this is a book that people would probably put into a pre-screen, because especially before this news, it wasn't really worth a whole lot. And here, interesting take on this. Pre-pandemic, a nothing burger. $41, jumps up to $225 and stays there. It's $225 September of 2021, and another sale in March of 2023 for the same price. And then it drops all the way down to $42 in an eBay auction. That's for, again, a 9.8. And then 104 and 210. So this book is all over the place. I don't know if this is the book to park your money in, if you're banking on Julia character being the Silver Surfer long term and really making the Shalabal version as a Herald of Galactus popular. This is just a kind of, to me, an interesting curio in the Shalabal character, and remains to be seen if this has any value. So we're getting away from Silver Surfer for just a moment and going to X-Men 24, right? Why is this making the list? Well, Andy Kubert hit fans in the feels when creating this cover, playing on the fan base's emotions. Since the 90s, Rogue and Gambit have been two peas in a pod, the yellow to the mellow, et cetera, et cetera. The point is, people love seeing the characters together. Of course, Magneto is currently messing. I don't want any spoilers. I'm going to move on to pricing. This book in near mint, $15 to $20, and a 9.8 for $165, $187, a recent sale. It is a popular book in a 9.8, right? And 768 universals. And for a book from 1993, only 32% of them, just under a third, are 9.8s. Let's take a look at the 9.8 values over time. There is also a newsstand of this, remember? And it was even 100 plus, it was right around $100 heading into the pandemic, jumped up to $280, $250, and went back down, but has been pretty darn consistent ever since. Some, ups and downs, ups and downs. There is a newsstand version of this, and 93, that's going to be much harder to come by, especially in high grade. So we see only 4 track sales of newsstands. Remember, it was only about a year ago that CGC put a newsstand designation on the label. And see, that's a $250 sale in September. So that's 9.8 is going to go for more. But this is a book, again, you really need it in a 9.8 for it to have that value. Let's move to number 3, and X-Men again. First cover appearance of Mr. Sinister, and the first appearance of Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen. I'm not going to go into why, because I don't want spoilers. I know they've been using Madeline Pryor for something. So, upwards of $50 and close to $200 in 9.8. That is a growth. Again, a book that you really, the 9.6 has a little bit of value, but you really want it in the 9.8. And there are just over 1,000 copies, and a quarter of them, 25%, are 9.8s, no 9.9s. And, it's a book from 1988. So we're getting a little bit later in the game. I don't know if I put this in a recent submission or not. But we can see, let's take a look at the 9.8s over time. And we can see this. This was under $100, right? Or right around $100. It started to climb during the height of the pandemic, then up to 660, and was kind of trending down ever since into the 150 range. And then we have some recent stronger sales over 200, 275. Again, only 25% are 9.8, so there is a little bit of a premium getting a 9.8. Let's look at number 2, Evangeline. Number 1 with this foil cover, the first appearance of Evangeline. Raw copies only about $10, but we see over $100 for a CGC 9.8. There's a reason for this, and it is Evangeline is a fallen angel turned badass who has recently been set to appear in a big screen adaptation. Olivia Wilde and Margot Robbie are taking on the challenge of translating this under the radar book to screen, and it's a hefty challenge. With a deluge of movies, TV series, and more from the big two over the past decade and a half, small indie titles like this have fallen to the wayside. With Roby producing and while behind the camera, they aim to change that and bring a truly obscure character to the masses. So you do have some firepower behind this. And I never read Evangeline. This is from 1995, I believe. If I remember correctly. Yeah, 1995. Let's take a look. This is 9/8. There are 162, and it is a chromium cover, so there are a couple of 9/9s. I don't think we've ever had a publicly traded 9/9. I don't think so. No sales data on that. So there are two of them out there, and 74%, 3/4 are 9/8 or better. And we can see it's just with the recent news. A lot of books selling, a lot of the fixed price, they were just listing there. It's a semi-popular character and the number one, throw it up there for $80. And then people are like, I'll take that. And it has a high of 136. We'll see how it stays in the long run. And probably a bunch of people pulling this out of their dollar bins and back issue bins to submit it off to CGC. Now let's take a look at number one on the list. And you might be able to guess what it is. It's Earth X number 12, the first appearance of Shalabal as the Silver Surfer. First cover appearance and one-page cameo appearance of Shalabal as the Silver Surfer. And this book, did it go bananas? Oh, my goodness. $50, $60 for a high grade. And like a 9/8 only sold for $41 last August. And here's the rub, right? There's only two on the census. And they're both 9/8. There are three signatures. And the signatures are 9/8, a 9/2, and an 8/0. So there's actually five on the census. Are any of them available? A 9/6 asking for $100? Is that? No, that's the number one. Raw. Yeah, so that is the number one book in this book. And Covrprice does go into it a little bit, right? It was just a few months ago when Hercules Twilight Son of a God made our list due to strong rumors of Marvel focusing on a female version of the Silver Surfer. Bad speculation sent folks to that book, and issue number 4 featuring a variant of Hercules' daughter, Juno, taking on the moniker. The first appearance of Frankie Ray, possibly played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who was the most likely candidate at the time, and the first iteration of female Silver Surfer and Ant-Man, the Ultimate Ninja number 11. Were also hot books. However, not many expected the recent news that Julia Garner would play Shalabal as the Silver Surfer in Marvel's Fantastic Four. The news spurred instant debate. Shalabal's first appearance as the Silver Surfer is found on this cover, along with one full-page cameo. But that's her first full appearance, you ask? Well, she doesn't really have one. In Earth X number 13, she appears again in cameos with 4 small panels with dialogue and is killed in one of them. The appearance in number 14, or I'm sorry, number 12 is much more substantial, mostly thanks to the cover, and therefore has captured the market interest. See the comparison below the list. So if we go down, I read this book. I have this book. So Earth X, she's on the cover, and she's over here. But then in issue X, right, she's got quite a few. She appears in much more of the narrative of that book. So, yeah, I'm not sure which is the best book for spec, but we've already had casting the character this week. So what's going to bump it again? And such obscure titles and issues that I think, the first few people to market with come to market with a 9/8 might be doing pretty well. Let's take a quick look at the runners-up. All right. So we have Geiger number 1. Ghost Machine Lost New Ties to take place in the Geiger universe, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about that. The power of Dave Stevens continues. There's a lot of Dave Stevens up on the walls at King Con, including mine. This is a popular one, DNA Agents, number 24. And this is typical of Dave Stevens' artwork. It was usually on some random issue of one of their longer-running series Airboy, DN Agents, you know, and also true of Comico, Johnny Quest, and Airboy. Airboy was Eclipse. That he did just random issues, and the documentary on Prime Video has proved quite popular. X-Men 244, first appearance of Jubilee, Spawn #1, always going to be bouncing around the top 10, always plenty of books selling. Here we go. Uncanny X-Men #266, the first appearance of Gambit. You can also pick up, if you're a Gambit fan, also pick up Annual 14. Batman the Killing Joke. There was a 10.0 recently sold Heritage for $28,800. I'm going to go dig through my long boxes. Actually, they're short boxes now, because I know I had 3 copies of that I bought at the time, so 2 I didn't read. And once you read this book, the way there's gloss on the spine, it's gonna be very difficult to procure a 9.8 in the future. At any rate, let's go to number 17, Wolverine #8, with this classic John Buscema cover with Joe Fixit and Patch. Is there going to be a Patch in the Deadpool Wolverine movie? We don't know. Dazzler's back. Dazzler #1. We know the Taylor Swift stuff. We'll see if that rumor comes to fruition. Fantastic Four #49, the first appearance of Galactus. Second appearance and first cover appearance of Norrin Radd, Silver Surfer. And then number 20, real quickly, a 9.8 for $173. Wow. Bishop is featured in the X-Men 97 TV series. So that covers it for the top 10 list and the 11 through 20s. A lot of Silver Surfer, Shalabal, speculation, and the X-Men animated series, the X-Men 97, is continuing to drive the market. And I think fans are just hungry for content with the writers and actors strikes and the pandemic having pushed properties out and Marvel taking a slowdown. I think they're hungry for anything. And X-Men's always been a popular title. Those books are always going to sell no matter what. Like, you know, if a dealer goes to a convention and fills a box with X-Men, they're going to sell, especially Bronze and that early Copper stuff, basically until about issue 200, and then the keys afterwards, you know, which we saw here, the first cover appearance of Mr. Sinister. So anyway, I'd like to thank you for stopping by and watching the video. I really appreciate that. You got to take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.